Hey, what's up everyone? It's Nicole, and in today's video I am coming back with another movie review, and I'm going to be talking about the movie A Quiet Place 2. This movie just basically picks up exactly where the last one ended, and we're thrown back into the scene with the Abbott family at their house, and they are leaving their home to kind of find a new place to live and kind of, I guess, explore outside of where they currently are residing, and to find other people like them who they can kind of help and look out for. So while they are out trying to find a new place to live, they come across a family friend that they had prior to all these alien creatures coming onto Earth, and they convince him to let them stay with him, but this is against his wishes. And while they are there, Regan decides to leave her family and set on a journey to find other people and to see what else is out there for them. So overall, I think this movie was really good. I think as a sequel, it does a good job at maintaining the story from the first film, and it also just expands on the universe. As I said, it's not just them at their house anymore, it's them outside exploring their surrounding areas and also coming into contact with other people who they soon realize they can't really trust everyone that they come across. So there were a few things that stood out to me the most in watching this movie, and one of the main things that I thought was kind of the thing that stood out the most was that it was very parallel events that were happening. So as I said, Regan decided to leave her family and kind of set out on her own journey to find other people so that she can find a new place for them to live, essentially. And while they are kind of on their own journeys, we see that there's again a lot of parallels. So like, for instance, if Regan is doing something and there's a high intensity moment that is involving water and fire, her family back at home at the little compound that they were currently staying at, they're also dealing with a high intense situation that is also dealing with fire and water. And I just thought this was kind of interesting because even though the family is separated and that they, are on their own different stories and journeys now, it kind of brings it together and shows that they are still connected in some way, and that it just kind of brings the whole story in itself together. It was also pretty evident to me that this story was more so about the children than it was the adults or the mom, Evelyn. I think it was kind of more just proving or showing, I guess for me, it felt like in the first film, there was a lot of the parents teaching the kids, how to handle various situations. And I feel like in this one, it kind of takes that and shows that these kids now are able to kind of take care and handle things on their own, and kind of just like how the mom doesn't really necessarily have to worry about them, because I know in the film she is constantly worried about her kids and kind of is afraid of losing any one of them. And so I think it just, again, shows that they are kind of coming into their own and into the situation that the world is currently in, and shows that the mom doesn't have to really worry about them anymore. And I also think that in this film, it also proved the kids themselves that they are capable of doing it, because again, in the first one, they were apprehensive of the things that they could do, especially Marcus's character. He is very fearful, and he kind of lacks a little bit of courage, unlike his sister Regan. But I think in the second movie, specifically the ending scene, Marcus kind of finally comes into his own and handles situations that he needs to be handling. Another thing that stood out to me in this film was the emotions of it all. I feel like Emily Blunt's character, Evelyn, was on the verge of tears the entire time. And I do understand why, because it's like a different situation from the first film. She had more of her family together, but since John Krasinski's character died in the first one, I feel like she is kind of just trying her best to keep her whole entire family together. And yeah, just she's on the verge of tears the entire time, and I just really felt the emotion behind it, and just like her fear of losing any one of her children. Yeah, it was just really evident, and she really did a really good job at portraying those tough scenes of, again, her on the verge of tears, but I just really believed her the entire time. And I think all the actors in general did a really good job. I believed all of them in their characters. And sometimes with child actors, I feel like it can be feeling a little cringe sometimes, because it just doesn't seem like genuine things that a child would say. But in these ones, I think also because they are a little bit older, I just really believed them and the situations that they were in. So even though I did enjoy this film a lot, there were a couple of things that I didn't necessarily care for, and one of the things was definitely the pacing of the film. I feel like the majority of the film was totally fine. I enjoyed the pacing and everything of it, but like I don't know, maybe like the last 30-ish minutes or so of it, I kind of felt like things were rushed, and it just felt like the ending of the film kind of had a quick and abrupt ending. It just didn't really, I wasn't expecting it. I was talking to my husband who watched the film with me, and he was kind of felt the same way. We kind of felt like it just ended abruptly and like we weren't necessarily ready for it. And I also felt like the ending of this film was kind of repetitive, or like kind of like almost like a copy of the first film. And it didn't really necessarily feel like a new take on it. Like you can kind of have the bones, or like, you know, take inspiration from the first film and how it ended it, but it just seemed like they just kind of took that exact thing and just put it back into A Quiet Place 2. I feel like even the way that they shot the scenes and like the music that they used was like the exact same from the first one. And what I mean by that is like, you know, like the tempo and like how they like the certain slow-mo shots, or, you know, I felt like some things were kind of slowed down a little bit to create dramatic effect, and how they built it up with like the music and everything. I felt like that was just very reminiscent of the first film, in which Emily Blunt's character Evelyn kind of like, you know, cocks the gun to shoot the thing. I don't know, it was just all very reminiscent of that to me. But overall, I really enjoyed the film. I did read that there was going to be a third film, but that it's going to have a new director. So John Krasinski, I don't even think he'll be writing it either. I'm not entirely sure, but I know he won't be directing it. But I definitely think that a third film is necessary, especially since how the second one ended abruptly, and I felt like I had a lot more questions and I needed a lot more closure because I want to know what happened to the Abbott family. But yeah, I just feel like the second one just left me feeling like the story was unfinished. I think I also did read that for the third film, they're not entirely sure if it's going to be about the Abbott family or if they're going to have a new family. And I mean, I wouldn't necessarily mind if the third film wasn't specifically on the Abbott family. It could like have glimpses of them, but I just want some closure with that. But yeah, I don't really care if they introduce a new family or not. I just want to know what happens to them, okay? But yeah, those are my thoughts on the film A Quiet Place 2. I would say that I do recommend viewing it, especially if you enjoyed the first one. I think you'll enjoy the second one. I just think you might agree with me in saying that it was a little bit abrupt of an ending. But if you have watched the film, let me know what your thoughts are on it, and if you agree or if you feel differently from me or whatever. But yeah, that's it for this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!